Disclaimer: the following video contains an organized and objectified remix music tier list from the Super Smash Bros. Series. It contains provoking thoughts and concerns from each remix in the games, all coming from this one random guy on the internet. Music is subjective, so not everyone's thoughts and lists might match with myself and others, so please take this into consideration. There will be anger, rage, and a tiny hint of salt, so watch at your own risk. If you do enjoy this video, however, go ahead and give it a like and share it amongst your peers, and why not go ahead and comment on why my tier list is so bad and why my choices were not to your liking. I would actually love to see what you have to say after watching this video. All things considered, I do really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen in on what I have to say in this video. Now, let's get right to it and enjoy the sounds of the, remixes of the Super Smash Bros. Series. Enjoy. Hey there everybody, our first remix to talk about today is essentially why I shouldn't be doing this tier list in the first place due to quote-unquote bad taste. This is Gritseed Desert. This track can be heard when going through the level with the same name in the DS RPG Mario & Luigi Partners in Time. Yoko Shimomura, the original composer for the game and the series, reprises her role for this remix. Yeah, it is really hard for me to put another Shimomura remix song this low on the list, please believe me. This is another remix with basically a one-to-one recreation of the same theme, with the same tempo, but unlike found in the original title, it uses various string, brass, and percussion instruments that would fit the part to make it more desert-like, which is probably what Shimomura was going for. Yeah, just like when everybody else was 12, I got the pleasure of listening to this remix through the Subspace Emissary first. It is great as an exploration theme, since this is based on an exploration part of the original game, but that's about it. It's not really going to wow me in the fighting department. I really love the Mario & Luigi RPG series to death, but they really should know what songs to better remix, like regular and boss battle themes. I mean, those do make it into Smash, but as their original selves. Except for one from Mario & Luigi Dream Team, which actually got the remix treatment. I'll go over that at a later date, but unfortunately those were the only two that were produced for Smash. It would have been super cool to listen to a grand finale remix from Bowser's Inside Story. Maybe in another timeline. This remix isn't all that bad by itself, it's really unique for a desert theme and I'm all for it, it's just not good when fighting in Smash. It can feel very off-putting if it's used in any other Mario stages minus the Mushrooming Kingdom stage, which I have displayed in the background. Wouldn't really fit on any other Mario stages, would it? Case in point. More Animal Crossing remixes to cover here, coming right up. This remix features two themes from Animal Crossing New Leaf. The first part of the track covers the Island Tour theme from Tortimer Island, which the player can play minigames with your friends at. And the second section is the Hide and Seek theme, when the player plays hide and seek with the other villagers in the normal town area. I think the naming conventions for this remix by calling it just Tour is a little weird since this is a collab of two songs from the game. But take that information with that as you will. The remix boasts an emphasis on a marching band style of music, which uses multiple instruments from brass horns, wind instruments, an accordion, and even has a marimba, which I love a lot here. But from the style of music alone, I'm pretty sure you're all going to guess that I'm slotting this here due to the fact it doesn't leave an impact and create tension for a match in Smash. Well, congratulations, you're all correct in assuming that. This is honestly, by far, one of the most boring remix songs to listen to while playing some Smash, in my opinion. It's not very fast and upbeat, and really melodramatic without having any noteworthy areas at all. Okay, now with all the negatives aside, I actually do have a soft spot for this remix, believe it or not. The way the instruments come and go together is a pretty awesome idea, making all of the instruments in this piece really have a chance to shine here. Especially love that tuba in this piece. If you listen really close, he does go all out in the background. He is the main star to look out for during this remix and steals the show for me. I honestly really didn't like this remix at first and was going to put it almost near the bottom with the previously mentioned Animal Crossing remixes from my first video. But I ended up putting it here because I have a small soft spot for this remix now. I think this is definitely a biased pick on the tier list for sure. Not sure if a lot of people will agree with me on this, but it is what it is. My tier list, my placements. Alright, so here we have the most notorious quote-unquote cut songs from Smash history. The DK rap that was featured in Donkey Kong 64. I'm sure many have already known that this remix was fully introduced in Melee, but was cut out in Brawl. But this remix was later returned to Smash 4 in Ultimate. Kinda. Unfortunately, most of the original track were cut out to make this version of the rap. Those missing parts being Lanky Kong, Chunky Kong, and the outro being cut out entirely and only leaving Donkey Kong, Tiny Kong, and Diddy Kong's parts in. This severely butchered the remix from its original Melee counterpart, which me and a lot of other people hold dear to our hearts. How am I ever going to know that Chunky Kong was one heck of a guy? Unfortunately, he's dead. Hopping into the time machine for a quick minute and going back 10 years ago, I was super excited to see the remix return to Smash 4 when I completed one of the in-game challenges, and the remix was the reward. Believe me when my face literally dropped to the floor when I saw that notification pop up with the DK rap being shown on screen. And then I played it. And it left a super bad sour taste in my mouth for years to come that I'd had to put this shit into this spot on my tier list. My disappointment was immeasurable, and my day was ruined. The remix is still not the worst though. Maybe they could have mixed the remix a bit better after leaving out the lanky and chunky parts of the song, so that the tiny to Diddy and Diddy to DK parts would have sounded a lot better than it does now. Making the transitions flow a bit better than it is now would be a huge step up if they went that extra mile for this remix. On a side note, apparently they left out those parts of the song due to memory storage on the disc back when making Smash 4. And if they didn't cut those parts, then there wasn't going to be any space to put that remix in the game and would leave the remix out. That, my friends, is a load of bullshit given that they finally knew how to compress the music better from Smash 4 to Ultimate, and we now have a fucking 7 minute of holy badass music of Sephiroth's Advent Children theme for DLC. No, it wasn't cut because of memory. I honestly believe that it was cut because of licensing issues since Microsoft bought out Rare back in 2002. But that is just a silly little theory of mine. Hashtag restore the DK rap. Don't be fooled by those opening seconds. This is actually a remix version of the underwater theme from the original Super Mario Bros. On the NES. As you can already tell, the theme of the original underwater level can be heard in all of its 8-bit glory. In this remix, however, 2 other renditions of the theme are then taking place right after. The second section of this remix portrays a vibrant orchestra piece, and then the third section turns into some sort of country, western type of style. Not too sure why this was even there in the first place. But after that nonsense is done, it then repeats itself for a loop back to its chiptune state. This remix is the first of a few tracks that have what I like to call generational gap remixes, which puts an excerpt of the original song from the original games, then it creates something else entirely, like in a unique orchestra style, to see how far we've come from way back when to now. I love these types of remixes personally, and there are a few remixes later that follow the same premise, but this one, unfortunately, is the worst of the bunch here. Again, it really just doesn't fit the tone of an ongoing fight. The orchestra is nice and fleeting, a very cool rendition of a classic theme. Then we got the Western Hillbilly section with the harmonica as its melody, and it's like, okay, interesting musical choice you got there, Sakai. It really has the same problem as the You Call This a Utopia remix before it, since it incorporates a lot of different music styles that you really wish that it only kept with one instead. If you were to ever listen to this remix the first time you were playing in Smash, I bet you were whispering under your breath, what the fuck is this shit? I mean, that's how I did it too when I first heard it. I really do think that these generational gap remixes are sick as fuck though. Can't wait to show you more of them later down the line because I really do think all of these are super underrated. However, this is definitely the worst one in that spectrum, and I'm putting this here on rank 372 in that regard. Next up is another 2-for-1 remix from the greatest of all time Zelda game. Right? Are people still calling this game the best still? Well, anyways, the remix plays Saria's song in the first part of the remix, which is given to the character Saria, as well as the song when Link traverses through the Lost Woods area, and then the second part is played when Link fights the metal boss of a main dungeon in the game. At the end, the song cuts to the fanfare of when the main boss of a dungeon gets defeated too. Nice little Easter egg at the end there, I'll give it up for that. The remix music itself has a slightly faster tempo than the original songs, with a leading woodwind instrument playing the main melody for Saria's theme, and a techno synth leading the middle boss theme. But I'm going to be outright blunt here, this remix is just really bland. I hope I'm not the only one that thinks this. Man, this remix is blander than a bowl of oatmeal without any milk. Blander than tamales without any Cholula hot sauce. Blander than raw meat not getting cooked enough. There's just really no oomph to this remix at all. And sure, the instrumentation is nice and soothing, but it really has just no impact. I will say that the Saria's piece might be the better one of the two here. Middle boss is just too short, but I'm okay with that given that it really does not sound anything even remotely like Link is having a serious battle. There's just no tension to it whatsoever. But if I'm being truthfully honest, the fanfare for the boss being defeated at the end of the remix might actually be the best part. I'm not kidding here. Sorry for all the people that really like this piece, but I just could not give a shit about it. The reason that this is so high is that there are obviously way worse remixes than this one. So much worse. I mean, Now or Never can't really compete with this remix, so Saria's song in Middle Boss Battle is lucky to even be this high up to begin with. Let's just move on. I'm kinda heated and really sick of going over this one in particular. Coming back to the Mother series, we have the Melee remix of Foresight. This remix is mostly an electronic-styled track from the song Held in the Skyscraper from the overworld area of Foresight in the Super NES game Earthbound. It mostly uses a synth to convey a psychedelic type of feel to the music, while an acoustic guitar and flute are heard throughout the piece, and join in the melody from time to time, which creates a certain type of ambience and touches of detail which I can appreciate. This remix also includes snippets of sound effects from the original game, as well as an excerpt of the 8 melodies that can be heard near the end of the track before a loop back to the beginning. The only good thing I'll say about this remix is its chilling atmosphere if played on the Foresight stage in Smash. If playing on any other Mother or Smash stages, it kinda loses its brownie points to me. Also given the fact that this really isn't a good song to fight to, but it's a nice, vibrant, and fun remix to listen to from time to time. I'm not too sure if people were expecting the Ultimate remix or the Melee remix of Foresight first, but I ended up putting the Melee remix lower on the tier list. The Ultimate remix is right around the corner, trust me on that. The Melee remix, though, does a way better job putting in the feel and atmosphere of its music first and foremost, rather than having a more upbeat type of remix like the Ultimate version after it. I'll have to give it up to Ando for that, but that's all I can say about it. Dig the vibes, but while playing in Smash, self-explanatory enough. Now, we're at the second of 3 remixes that were arranged by the legend himself, Koji Kondo. Not too sure how I feel about putting 2 of his remixes in Smash so low on the list, but I gotta be honest, these 2 just couldn't really get the feel of fighting, to say the least. But anyways, this remix is a soothing jazzy style of music to the iconic ground theme of the original NES game, Super Mario Bros. This remix features a piano where Koji Kondo actually performed the arrangement himself, while synth and bongos supports it in the background, giving it a very lighthearted and groovy feeling to it. While it can be relaxing to listen to this remix, that's not what I'm really going for in this tier list, so I'll be slotting it here. And I gotta be honest, I'm really kinda sick of listening to this remix as well. Including the original soundtrack of the ground theme for Super Mario Bros. Into Ultimate, this theme is represented 9 times. Holy fucking moly. And of course that the godfather of game music Koji Kondo represented his pride and joy and arranged this remix, since it's basically his baby. I would actually love to see Kondo arrange other types of songs from different series in Smash, like Zelda or Pokemon, and truly hit it out of the park with those. Sadly, that remains to be seen, and we're stuck with this one and the Super Mario Bros. Medley. But that's right, we still have a 3rd remix that he created for Ultimate. I wonder where I put that one. Only time will tell if I actually put it next on the list, or it is my number 1 pick. You'll just have to wait and find out. Now we got our first Kid Icarus remix to go over, and also have the first of many remixes from a super awesome composer in my opinion, Noriyuki Iridare. This dude's compositions are amazing, but unfortunately for him, this remix is anything but. In the Space Pirate Ship is from the ground section in Chapter 8 of the 3DS game Kid Icarus Uprising. Iridare also composed this piece from the original game as well. This remix is another one of those live orchestra pieces with a similar marching tone found in the original game, but now with added electric guitar to the mix. But just adding in that piece of equipment and nothing else kinda pales a lot to the other remixes in comparison. This remix is like another copy and paste type of remix from the original composition of said video game, is really something that I've seen far too many times already. Generally the same type of tempo and orchestra instruments, but having added an electric guitar to make it somehow different? Well, sorry to burst your bubble here, but it doesn't really differentiate anything else here. Now, I'm not too sure if this piece honestly fits the essence of being on an actual space pirate ship, but it's not too bad sounding in the slightest. And while I do like it a lot kinda, it doesn't really drive home tension in a battle, and more like an exploration type of music, which the whole purpose of the original song was about. Minus the enemy counters, which the original also played for. Pretty generic remix to be frank. Not the best of Ivadare's for sure, but this man makes some absolute legendary bangers. Just wait and see on the shit that he comes up with later down the line. Another Shogo Sakai classic, this time with the Fire Emblem theme. This is the main theme for the series that first appeared in the original NES game, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, which can be heard as its title theme. The main theme can also be heard throughout the Fire Emblem series in subsequent games. The remix is also the first in the series where the Fire Emblem theme has gotten a lyrical adaptation, this being in Latin, through a male and female choir and is played with a grand orchestra throughout. While you can count this as the first of the theme having lyrics in a video game, in actuality, there was a Japanese commercial promoting the game with the main theme having lyrics as well, but that was in Japanese since the series was a mainstay until it went overseas through Fire Emblem on the GBA in 2003. In the middle of the remix, an excerpt of the Enemy Fight 2 theme will play when the lyrics stop, but then will continue with the second half of the main theme. In all honesty, there really isn't much to say about this remix to me. It's a pleasant piece that does a great job conveying the theme for Fire Emblem, and the lyrics are a nice touch about camaraderie and friendship. You know, basic Japanese plot devices. Only problem is I would like to have an English and maybe a Japanese adaptation for this as well, but Latin is cool, I guess. I never really see the language anywhere else, so I can take that at least. Since this is an orchestrated performance, however, I'm going to say less good things about it for it being a fighting game song in Smash. Especially since there are a lot of slow parts and the choir doesn't really fit in for a good scene of fighting, like, let's take Lord of the Rings fight scenes for example, with super intense music and the choir is really great in those areas where fights are playing out in those scenes, something like that to get the blood pumping. This really just doesn't do it for me. I really think I should have put this remix near the orchestrated related remixes down on the list, but I really applaud Sakai's amazing talent for making a great piece with a somewhat beloved series, the first of its kind. My bias is probably showing here, but it's not really that much given the actual rank that I'm putting it under, not even passing 100 remixes yet. Oh god, this project is never going to end, is it? Here, we have a medley from the first Xenoblade Chronicles game found on the Wii. And if I'm going to be honest, this medley is super half-baked and not that great at all, just a fair warning. But you could have already tell just by me listing this remix here on the tier list anyways. The list of songs for this medley here start with a generally great rendition of Gaur Plains, with a new heavy rock style to it. Then it is followed by Mechanical Rhythm and You Will Know Our Names, which are more or less the same from its original adaptations. Then last is Engage the Enemy, which has a higher beats per minute than its original song before the loop back to Gaur Plains. This remix is arranged by the same composers who originally composed Xenoblade Chronicles as well, Ace. So besides the Gaur Plains and Engage the Enemy parts of the medley, This remix is just the same music that came from the original game, more or less. Not very original in my opinion. The Xenoblade series has some stellar tracks, don't get me wrong, but I feel like this medley is very lackluster due to some of the songs here being the same as they were back in the original game. More so since all 4 of these songs listed here can be heard in Smash from their original adaptations. So honestly, you can go listen to You Will Know Our Names or Mechanical Rhythm separately for a game of Smash, and you probably wouldn't hear the difference compared to this remix. The medley would be better off if they had different instrumentations than the heavy rock that it portrays, or better yet, have original songs from the game that were not featured in Smash, and put it into the medley so it can have more variety. I don't really hate this remix. I think it is kinda good while playing it in Smash, since it is pretty heavy, but I know that this remix could have been done way better than the final product here. I think the Gaur Plains section is the best part of this remix, since it is a new rendition of the usually laid-back adventurous theme that it originally has. But that's the only thing I'll give to this remix positively. Pretty undercooked, however. I will have much nicer things to say when I get to the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 medley. It'll be a long while until we get there. It's so much better than this half-baked medley the first game got, unfortunately. Here we have a Yoshi series remix that was arranged by Shogo Sakai. Again, starting to run into him a lot more these past few ones, huh? Anyways, Wildlands is from the game Yoshi's Island DS and is played on specific levels from that game. Think of it as an athletic theme from the Mario series. This remix is a bit more upbeat than the original piece, with a slight tempo increase, but usually keeping the same instrumentation more or less, from wooden pan instruments playing the main melody, with a banjo, ukulele, and acoustic guitars supporting this track. While nearing the end of the remix, it slows its pace and instruments, conveying a majestic tone from a variety of string instruments, then back to the upbeat tempo at the beginning. I had mixed feelings about this remix back when I was doing the tier list, but now I can comfortably put this into rank 365. It's not that bad by any means, and when listening to this remix while playing Smash, it actually gave me a good vibe. It's not too annoying or cumbersome at all, and I especially like the acoustic guitar solo near the end, until the string instruments come in to make it all nice and slow. That was probably the dull point for me at that point. The Yoshi sound effect at the beginning is also a neat tie-in to the actual games, having that same sound effect when starting a level. But I can see how it wouldn't fit a very fight-centric type of mood, so I'll be dropping this off here. Just know that I actually really don't mind it, but I couldn't see myself put it anywhere higher when other remixes are just a bit better than this one. Alright, so now we have the second longest remix title on the list. Plaza and Title Theme, Animal Crossing City Folk, and Animal Crossing Wild World. I dare you to say that 5 times fast. But in actuality, the title should have been 3 themes, since 2AM from Wild World is also played here in this remix, so it could have been the longest title if they added that into the mix, but I'm honestly glad it didn't. Regardless, these, 3 themes are played when the player is in the plaza area for Animal Crossing City Folk on the Wii first, then when the title theme is being played in Animal Crossing Wild World on the DS, with 2AM playing last on this remix from Wild World as well, before looping back with the plaza theme at the beginning. Instrumentation-wise, it's mostly being played from a live orchestra, with lots of percussion making it a somewhat tropical type of style to it. Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of the ultimate competitors watching this video here have recognized this theme being played in tournaments more times than we all can count, myself included. If you haven't used the My Music section to select your probability of tracks to play, this remix is the highest to be played on for the stage Town and City, which is one of the few stages in Smash that is deemed legal in competition, making it a popular stage to play on. Man, this remix can get dull if you don't really like it a lot, so yeah, you should probably turn the probability tab of this remix down to 0 in your My Music tabs, you fucking bozos. But getting back on track, this remix isn't terrible, and it honestly did grow on me. Call it my change of heart, if you will. The orchestra does a great job, and I really do like the percussion instruments that are used here, giving it a solid and pretty groovy vibe to it as well. It doesn't really get my fighting spirit flowing in me all that much, so I'll plop it into this rank. But remember, if you don't want to hear this remix at all, change your fucking My Music tabs, you lazy bastards. Back to another Fire Emblem remix, and the last of Michiru Yamane's remixes in Smash. There were only 2 that she arranged. I originally had this remix and her previous remix being Saria's Song and Middle Boss Battle together in my earlier stages of creating this tier list, but I decided to put Fight 1 a little higher due to other remixes being a bit milder than initially thought. Not a coincidence in the slightest, I think most of these remixes are still plain mid in general, such as this one. Coming back on topic, this theme first appeared in the Japanese-only NES game Fire Emblem Gated, but was then remade in 2017 with Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia on a 3DS. This plays during the first moments of the game when Alm's army initiates a fight with the enemy side, and funny enough, this theme is also played in the arena theme for the Sacred Stones back on the GBA. Little piece of trivia that a lot of people don't care about because they hate Fire Emblem. Sorry not sorry. Anyways, according to the SSB wiki, the style of music is composed of an orchestral rock style in mind, with drums and a bass guitar. But they are missing the electric guitars for some reason. Not really a great orchestral rock style at all in my opinion. And this is going to be a pretty biased take, I'm just not a huge fan of this remix, as you can probably tell. I don't know what it is, might be the lack of guitar, and only having a bass guitar and drums might make it feel off to me. But also the instrumentation for the main orchestra is just incredibly dull too, with mostly just string and a bit of wood instruments mixed in. No brass to give it a lot of impact really hurts, and doesn't get it very exciting. It saddens me since I do really like to listen to the Shadows of Valentia remastered version of Fight 1 a lot, and I think it is way better than the remix that was composed by Yamane for Smash. She does make some pretty awesome music for the Castlevania series, however, which this remix in a way really reminds me of. She's not a bad composer of music, and just to reiterate here that I don't hate anyone that composes the music here, especially good ones that they do make, but I'd rather listen to a lot of other tracks that are way better in comparison from this remix especially. Fight 1 to me is just bland and boring and doesn't do a lot for itself fighting-wise in Smash, which is funny given the title for this remix. Slotting it here into this rank and you can't change my mind. Here, we have the Smash 4 remix to Chill from Dr. Mario on the NES, but there's actually some backstory to this placement that I like to say first. Apparently, Past Me originally put this remix in the early 200s when ranking these remixes. Don't know what I was on at the time, but I realized that this remix is incredibly ass, and so now I give it the rank it deserves before it was too late. I worry myself sometimes. But besides the point, this is obviously the Smash 4 remix version of Chill, and much like its Brawl counterpart, it mostly focuses on an 8-bit chiptune style, while making it also a type of electronic style to it that resembles the Dr. Mario series in a way, and doesn't make it as annoying this time around. Yeah, I do prefer the Smash 4 remix to this song over the Brawl one, but it really doesn't do that much for me since it heavily relies on the 8-bit sounds to make it a more modernized look for Chill. Hirokazu Tanaka, the arranger for this remix, also originally composed music for Dr. Mario, so I do appreciate the attempt on a classic song he made way back then. I do think some people would prefer this remix over other Mario or maybe even other Smash music, and more power to you, but I really look forward to the evolution of a song, rather than going back to its basic roots, so I'm going to slot it here for rank 362. Now that I'm looking back, I'm kinda surprised how I put this remix so high from other remixes that were more about the evolution of old music from compressed old console games to live orchestra adaptations, but I just don't see myself jamming out to them, and the Smash 4 version of Chill could have been far more worse than it is. At least it's not the Brawl remix, that's for sure. Speaking about other chiptuning music, here's the Duck Hunt medley from Smash 4. This remix is used from the NES game Duck Hunt, and first includes the title theme for the game, then the Duck Hunt intro when you start a game. Various sound effects and jingles from the original game are used throughout the remix too, such as the Duck Hit sound and Round Clear jingle. What's funny is that the sound effects that the character Duck Hunt from Smash actually uses their voice quips from the game in this remix too, most notably in the middle of the remix from the transition from title theme to intro. I believe this is actually the first and only remix in Smash that a Smash character used their own voice clips from the game into a remix. Something I never thought that was possible until doing research for this project. Super fucking cool to say the least, even if it's not the most apparent or best hearing thing in the world. And I'm not counting Mr. Game & Watch since that character uses game sounds from his original games, not voice clips. Just a clarification there. The music for this remix takes on a retro chiptune style approach this time around, going back to its roots, mostly using a synth throughout. This is a very simplistic remix that's not too strenuous or action-packed. Honestly, I really found it hard to believe that I put this remix somewhat high in the tier list as well, just like with the Smash 4 version of Chill, but I don't know, I really do enjoy the simple things now and again, and I really like this remix surprisingly. The background electronic drums and strings that are featured here are really cool to me, and it doesn't deviate from the old school music that presents in all of its retro glory. The old school fashion that it's got going for here is not too bad either, and I considered this remix really cool at the time, and I frankly still do. Definitely not the best remix by any means, even that transition from the middle of the song is super bad. Stopping for a bit then continuing kinda pains me when looking back on it. If you're not a fan of the 8-bit stuff, definitely not your go-to remix to listen to. Is this remix better to play in Smash than some of the previous remixes I listed here? Definitely not. I just like the simplicity given here to make a cool remix, and I really like it to this day. Might be a little biased here, but this tier list is pretty biased anyways, so take that as you will. Now, in this section of the tier list, I'm going to be coming back with more live orchestrated music that are a bit better than the previous orchestrated list I put together from the last video. Yeah, these are a bit better to me personally, but it's just an orchestra playing video game music essentially. They still don't really have the oomph of fight music to me, but I can appreciate them a bit more presentation-wise, so I'll have to give them a few extra points here for being pretty decent pieces of music in general. First up is another Kid Icarus remix titled Wrath of the Reset Bomb. The original song can be found in Chapter 11 with the same name, and this remix mostly plays during the first part of the chapter in the air battle section, and then has snippets of the leitmotif during the grounded section in the same chapter. This can also be served as Viridi's theme, one of the main characters in Uprising, which can be seen in the Bomb Reset Forest stage for Smash, and how this remix came to be its main song of choice for said stage. Just like in the original game, the music is being played by a live orchestra, with Yuzo Koshiro arranging the remix, as he was one of the original composers for the game, much like with Iridare from the previous In the Space Pirate Ship remix. From my experience playing Kid Icarus Uprising back on a 3DS, I couldn't really find myself being nostalgic over the soundtrack of the game. I found it generally good, but was more focused on the gameplay. This remix is definitely one of those occasions where it's good, but nothing else worth mentioning here. Like, the orchestra is there doing orchestra things, but I think there should be more to it, you know? The beginning is pretty exciting at least, but I can't help that it just gets dull and drones on later down in the remix. Especially the last part where you can barely hear anything going on, then decides to escalate itself before the loop back to the beginning. I do find it rather cool, however, that if you play this remix while playing on the normal Reset Bomb Forest stage with hazards on, that the music piece syncs up to the stage itself. When the reset bomb comes down and changes the stage, the music will sync up with it and vice versa when it returns to normal. Very unique that not very many remix pieces of music can be dynamic for Smash Bros. Not really saying much, however, given that I play on competitive stages and not on normal stages to begin with, but it's there if you want some diversity to your playtime. But like with the In the Space Pirate Ship, I'll say that the Uprising remixes for Smash aren't that great to me since they're mostly taken from their original soundtracks. So, spoiler alert, you'll likely see the other Uprising remixes very soon, since they're also quite dull to me personally. Next up for this orchestrated rundown is The Great Cave Offensive. This remix has two songs featured in the mode, The Great Cave Offensive from the Super NES game Kirby Superstar. The first part of the song features the Crystal area, which is also a direct remix from the iconic Green Greens theme, and then the second part comes from the Subtree area. Like I said, this is played through a live orchestra and has a very adventurous feel to it. This rendition for the music in The Great Cave Offensive isn't bad at all. Well, most Kirby music isn't bad to begin with. The adventurous feeling is really nice, especially given the map that was originally played on in Smash, being the stage with the same name, The Great Cave Offensive. But, I don't know, there's nothing about it that doesn't really have a fighty feel to it. It just doesn't give out the right tone that Smash Bros. Has in its gameplay, so I feel this is like a good spot to put it on this tier list. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have, funnily enough. I don't really have a lot to say about it. It's a great orchestrated piece though. I don't hate music without a reason, but it's a bit lackluster than remixes that deserve higher rankings to me. Uh-oh. I just realized where I put this iconic song on this tier list, and I feel like I'm going to get skinned alive by the Mother fans for this one. And Smash fans as well in that regard. Just please bear with me on my reasoning. It's just not a very good fight song. Sorry, don't know where that came from. Anyways, Porky's theme is a combination of two themes from the Game Boy Advance game Mother 3. The first part of the theme we already talked about in a previous remix called His Highness's Theme, which plays in the beginning portion of the piece and is at the New Pork City section of the game, as well as when the Pig Mask army has a presence in cutscenes for the game. Then the second part is Log O Type, which plays in the Tazmily is the stage track of the game. That portion is found in the exclusive iTunes album for Mother 3 Plus as well, according to the Smash Wiki. Instrumentation-wise, this theme is an orchestrated military march type of remix, with a heavy focus of brass instruments. As iconic and popular as this remix is among the community of all you lovely and beautiful people out there, I am just really sick of hearing this every time I play on a New Pork City stage. Yeah, I know it makes sense, but goddamn, you people seriously need to change your My Music probability tabs. Regardless of my personal bias, the music and performance here is actually quite good. I definitely remember back in the Brawl days playing with my sister while running away from the Pig King statue in the Subspace Emissary. Good times. But I don't really think it's a great fight song to begin with, so it's gonna cost us some points for me, and put it here on the tier list. This remix is really made for cutscenes anyway, as previously mentioned here, and some cutscenes aren't really well made for intense fighting action. Sorry, not sorry, Mother fans. And here's another orchestrated main theme from Zelda, which I'm completely numb to at this point. This remix features the two main themes from the original NES classic, The Legend of Zelda. The first part features the overworld theme, while the second part features the main dungeon theme, which is called the Underworld, according to the name of this title. This remix is a live orchestrated track which focuses on the brass instruments for its overworld, and then strings and woodwind instruments for the underworld, and then repeats on transitions. Not a bad remix by any means, but holy shit, I am seriously tired of all the Zelda music for this project. Can't believe I didn't really have a problem with it until now. You can call me a hater, but the Zelda music for Smash could have been so much better than what we have currently. I'll put this remix here on the tier list because, yeah, it does an alright job for a very popular piece of video game music history, but that's about it. Can't really see myself having a good time listening to this remix while fighting in a game of Smash, but at least it really tries to be uplifting and not as mediocre sounding like the previous live orchestra remixes on our tier list already, so that I'll give it credit for. I feel as if the eyes of the Zelda fanbase are giving me the death stare here, so I'll move on from this. But beware that I have much more Zelda music backlash that I'll get to sooner than you think. Alright, we're onto the actual first Metroid remix on the tier list that isn't a complete ripoff. This is Theme of Samus Aran, Space Warrior. This original song takes place during the credits for the fan-favorite Super NES classic, Super Metroid. And there's nothing much else to say other than that. The remix has a more faithful transition to the original track, that doesn't stray too much from the source material. It just replaces the compressed music with a live orchestra instead. First off, I'm going to come out and say that I actually do love this remix a lot. It is a very triumphant type of song with a marching feel to it. Really sounds like something from an ending to a game or movie as it is intended, and I can't help but feel a little proud whenever I listen to it. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the right context when fighting in Smash, like it feels really off whenever I play it in a match. It would honestly feel way better off as the end results to a match, instead of it being background music, given that this remix is literally an end credits for a game. It actually really feels out of place as well with any given Metroid stage in the Smash series. The stages are usually very dark and gloomy, and the Metroid music appropriates it with a really edgy and intense type of music, which I will go in more depth with a few of the other remixes later on in the project. In no way, shape, or form do I despise this remix. I think it really drives home as Samus's main theme very well, but I can't really bring myself any higher for this remix to be on my tier list due to not being a very good fight song in general. And that concludes my orchestra list. Not as long as the last time, there are more orchestra related tracks to go over still, but I think the last ones sweep the others by a long shot, so stay tuned. Here, we got another one of these ultimate remixes that try a little too hard for my liking. And from what I said previously, that most of the ultimate remixes are fitted better in a style that makes the music more engaging to players, but sometimes they just take it a little too far. I'll mention several other ultimate remixes in the future that do this a lot when they show up. There will be ones that people will definitely disagree with me on. But for now, I'll be discussing Fireman Stage. This track comes from the first Mega Man game on the NES, when you go through the stage to face off against the robot master, Fireman. The remix provides an electronic style of music that resembles how the music of the Mega Man games originally sounds like. Most of the Mega Man remixes here are electronic music that uses synths, which isn't a bad thing since it fits the series well, but this one in particular has a bit more urgency to it, which brings me to why I don't really like it that much. Just not a big fan of it kind of blaring the loud sirens in my ears throughout the whole remix. It definitely sounds like big fire alarms going off in a nuclear reactor, which, if Nobuko Todo really wanted the remix to be like, then I'll have to give him props for being it very similar. In my huge, honest, biased opinion, I feel like it kinda takes away from the fighting for Smash. If it sounds too urgent, I want to go and finish the fight sooner, because I feel like the music is making me want to go really fast for some reason. Is that a strange thing to say? Yes, I do want good fight music, but this is far from good, so that makes me want to finish the match quicker instead of being it very slow and epic. For that reason, I'm putting this remix here. It's not at the bottom of the barrel since I can see how people would like to hear the remix due to its intense nature, if that's what you like to listen to. I'm pretty sure people do like this Mega Man remix a lot, so let me know what you think about it. I already gave my 2 cents about it here, and there are far better remixes out there, especially Mega Man ones, so yeah, moving on. Oh boy. I'm sure most people were waiting for this remix to show up on the list eventually. Well, here it is. The abomination named the Paper Mario Medley. This remix features 3 songs from the Paper Mario series from 2 of the games. The 3DS game Sticker Star and the Thousand Year Door game for the GameCube. Let's go down the line on where they show up. The first song is from Sticker Star named Blue Skies, White Clouds, which is played in the first level for the game and is similar sounding to the overworld theme from the original Super Mario Bros. Jesus, I can't get away from these oversaturated themes, can I? But the second part in the middle comes from the Thousand Year Door, and it is an entirely remixed rendition of the main hub world, Rogueport. Lastly, the third part is from Sticker Star again named Battleship, which is basically another remixed rendition for the Super Mario Bros. 3 airship theme, before looping back. The instrumentation here consists mostly of acoustic-style guitars and chiptune elements from synths, with a few percussion instruments here and there. Now, putting my bias aside here, this medley isn't half bad when you put the perspective of the remix before everything else, first and foremost. It's got a great style of Paper Mario feely goodness in all three of its rendition of themes, and it really shows. And man, that Rogueport remix is, so breathtaking. Brings a tear to my eye each time I listen to it. Okay, now it's personal bias time. Why the fuck are the Sticker Star songs for this medley bland remixes of past Mario games? There were definitely way better songs to choose from Sticker Star that could have been way better fit for this medley, no matter how bad that game is. I get why they put Sticker Star music in this medley because the Smash stage Paper Mario was first released on the 3DS for Smash 4, and they needed handheld stages to better accommodate the game. But if they honestly have put the Paper Mario's Bowser Castle theme from the Nintendo 64 at the last part of the remix, I don't think anyone would have complained, since it has a lot of diversity to it now, and it would have fit so much better since that track is not at all incorporated from an older music piece from the Mario series. It is its own composition. Not to mention that if you play this remix in the Paper Mario stage through its Battlefield and Omega variants, you'll only listen to the first part of the medley due to the stage not transitioning from different parts to the stage. Oh, yeah, I totally forgot to mention about the transitions for the Paper Mario stage going along with this medley. Well, the stage has 3 forms, and each form goes along with the medley of the remix, which is a really cool dynamic that not a lot of stages have in Smash, like I mentioned earlier with the Wrath of the Reset Bomb remix. But I'm sure everyone and their mother knows by now that if you play this medley on the Paper Mario stage with hazards off, or if you're playing it on its Battlefield or Omega variants, then the medley only plays that dreaded first part of the medley since the stage doesn't transition anymore. Man, playing the same 45 seconds of Blue Skies, White Clouds over and over and over changes a man for the worse, and people still have the audacity of not turning off that godforsaken remix in their My Music probability tabs. And when the Paper Mario stage gets picked online, it still gets played every single fucking time, and I'm foaming from the mouth when it happens. Why do you people live like this? Just to make others suffer? Funny enough that the 3DS version of Smash 4 didn't have this problem when the stage got picked in its Omega forms, and the remix continued on in full. But why the hell did this not transfer in Ultimate? Makes no fucking sense. Sorry for my little rant. This isn't a bad remix when looking objectively. Saki Kasuga did a great job with the essence of a Paper Mario remix at least, and I will give that some credit. But man, it seriously could have been way better than it should. Other than my blatant nitpicks, yeah, I have no fucking remorse for this remix anymore. Back to more retro-esque style of remixes. This one not being the worst, and it actually sounds really cool if I'm being straight with you. The opening theme for Donkey Kong. As the title suggests, it's the, opening theme for Donkey Kong. Yeah, real original here. Well, it does start out as the opening theme, but goes off as a little bit of a medley as well, featuring the game start jingle, the 25-meter background music, as well as the hammer jingle, then starts back over to the opening theme. This remix's instruments feature mostly a synth and a piano as its melody, with electric guitar and drum kit to help the melody play in the background of the piece. This is honestly a very fun remix. I like how the guitar and drums support the music instead of it being in the main melody, giving it a bit of a style to an all-time classic without hindering the integral structure. It also pumps me up too without even knowing while playing in Smash, so huge bonus points for that. It's a fantastic remix, but it only plays for about a minute and 15 seconds before looping. It is a pretty short remix that I will unfortunately dock some points off of that. Usually I'd like to listen to longer styles of music rather than shorter ones. That's why I put Bomb-Man Stage and the overworld Zelda theme from Melee so low. Don't really want to listen to the same loop over and over again because it drags on and it can get tiring. This remix is unfortunately no different. Fortunately enough, this remix will be the last of these pieces that are a bit too short, and this is a good one to end it off of. If it had a longer runtime, I would have put it much higher on my ranking tier list for sure. But also, the downtime for the startup for the 25 meter music is a significant amount of time where it's not doing anything much before it picks up again, which I'm not the biggest fan of. You can't win them all, I'm afraid. Got another Shogo Sakai remix for you all before ending off this video, the main theme of New Super Mario Bros. You might be thinking that this remix is only referencing the title theme for this DS classic, but in actuality it's a remix of the overworld theme and the level clear jingle of the game that are included at the beginning and ending parts for the remix. So not sure if you really want to call this title a typo, but I mean, the overworld section is a main theme in its own right, so who am I to judge? The remix features mostly the same beats and style of the original, but adds a unique bossa nova type of beat to it with an acoustic guitar and saxophone, mostly comprising the main melody, with a bass guitar, marimba, drums, and synth for the supporting background. Also, you cannot forget the classic ba sound effects from the original game. They make a return for this remix too, if you couldn't already tell. The tempo is a bit faster than the original, which makes up for it being a relaxing as well as an upbeat remix at the same time. It isn't that bad at all, and I wouldn't mind fighting to this remix in Smash from time to time. But now that I mention it, I'm kinda surprised I put the remix kinda low on my list to begin with. I'm gonna say this right now that the 250s to 350s have been the hardest when ranking these remixes. While some of these can be bland, they are truly classics and it's very hard for me to even rank which ones are better than others. I guess I can say about this one not being so high up are the ba sounds. They can get old pretty fast. I know about the memes and the internet loves that funny little sound, but it isn't my cup of tea in the funny meme department. Maybe I just have a really terrible taste in humor, I don't know. Also, when listening to this remix, it kinda sounds like a really funky MIDI to me, so I might have put this remix on the spot due to the fact that it doesn't sound genuine to me, and it's a bit compressed. I'm sure some are getting heated for this placement, and I'm definitely gonna get some backlash, but it doesn't do much of anything different for itself. This placement feels justified for me. Coming to the last remix of the day and going through a rather slower, more atmospheric remix. Atmosphere being the key word here, is The Dark World. This song appears in the Super NES title A Link to the Past, when Link is exploring through the outside areas of the Dark World, a unique mirror world to that of Hyrule. This remix for this song generally keeps the same beats per minute as its original counterpart, but with different instruments which greatly enhance the mood. An accordion, acoustic guitar, viola, harp, and various percussion instruments are being used with this remix, as well as gushing winds of air that can be heard throughout, which creates some super solid atmosphere of traversing through an unknown world. As I said before, the chilling atmosphere is this remix's greatest strength, and I absolutely love it. But sadly, that's all the positives I have to say about this remix. It doesn't give it an edge when actually playing in a match of Smash. The only stage that I can think of it being as a good fit for a Zelda stage is the Bridge of Eldin, with its grim backdrop. Every other Zelda stage in Smash really doesn't have any type of good setting for this remix, unfortunately. This is a nostalgia trip for many, so I'm sorry if I'm breaking some hearts with this one. I'd like to place it a bit higher, believe me, but there are just so many other remixes that are more deserving to be placed higher than this one. Even the Smash 4 remix of the Dark World is a better fit for a battle, which I'll go over at a later date. Hope y'all can accept this rank for what it is, as we move on to the 350s of my tier list in the next video. How's it going, everybody? Hope y'all enjoyed this video today. Got some really interesting picks here, so hoping some of you can go easy on me, but I'm not expecting that at all, and I'm definitely gonna get flamed in the comments here. Well, it is what it is. But now that I think about it, I'm quite curious about some of your opinions for this topic of Smash music. So I got a question for y'all today that you can leave down in the comments. What's one song from Smash, whether it be a remix or from a song that was from another game being put into Smash, that you think it's super overrated and that the Smash community loves to listen to? Like, a lot. As you can already tell from the tier list, I probably answered that question to everyone here if you have been paying attention to my picks. So yeah, I'm quite curious about that, and I have a few more questions for you all as the series progresses. I'd love to hear various answers from you all if you enjoyed watching this series. But yeah, thanks again for watching. The 4th video of the series is on the way, and I hope you all look forward to what I have to say. We are actually out of the really terrible remixes now, and we are coming across the remixes that are actually really great to listen to, so I'll have much nicer things to say, finally, so I won't be such a Debbie Downer the entire time. With that being said, see you all next time, and have a great day.